Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's From Boxes to Butterflies. Here is a day when it's one of those days when it's like everything just seems to happen, and it just it's been a wacky day, but there's just so much going on right now, and that's why I am really excited to talk with everybody today. Now that we're up, and I am also trying to go ahead and have my phone on because we know LinkedIn can be a little crazy. So this is the way for me to try and make sure I don't miss anybody's comments, because sometimes what goes into LinkedIn doesn't end up in live stream. But if you're on my YouTube channel, which is at Susanna-Dawn, usually the YouTube comments do go into my stream for this show. So thank you for coming in, and like I said, I will try to keep track of comments. It looks like Ollie is here, and yeah, there's Ollie. Yeah, nothing on LinkedIn. So welcome to YouTube, Ollie. And today I have a lot to go through today. There is a lot happening, which is why it's just me today. Kind of like CJ was earlier today, but we also have some things that are overlapping. So with CJ, hey Danielle, what I want to start off with is a Happy New Year, because we're now into 2024. I don't know if you are the resolution type, if you are just setting goals for the year, if you're a word person for the year. Over the past couple of years, I've become that, having a word for the year. And for me, my word for 2021, 2022 was faith. And I realized by the end of the year, because it was a word that was put on my heart going into 2022. And the word that was put on my heart became one that I was not able to forget through the whole year. I didn't choose the word, the word chose me. And because it chose me, it lasted. I remembered it past the end of January, which doesn't happen a lot. It hadn't happened a lot. Going into last year, it's funny to think of 23 as being last year, but it was what, 3 days ago, 4 days ago was last year. My word was fly. And that was when the eagle came into my signature emoji, where I have that butterfly, eagle, butterfly. Because the first butterfly, that's kind of my reinvention. That's the significance of that first butterfly. The second one is the eagle. And I realized that fly and the eagle belong together. It's like it was time to take off and do things. And a lot of things did happen last year. That third emoji, the second butterfly, the purpose of that became obvious going into last year. It stood for the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect is, as written by Ray Bradbury in A Sound of Thunder, a short story, a time travel story. The bottom line is, even though I know all the pain, all the problems I went through in my life, what it was like to not be able to live authentically, to live as who I was created to be, and having to fit the boxes that other people told me I belonged in, what I should be, who I should be, what I should do. All these boxes made life really difficult. And it really was an end of my confidence. It's hard to be confident. It's hard to believe in yourself when everybody is telling you that you have to be something other than who you really are at your own core. And that's where the butterfly effect comes in, though. All the crap that I went through in my life, all the ups and downs. I mean, it's easy to say, all the positive stuff, I'll take that, I'll keep that, but I want to change the bad stuff. The thing is, if you change anything that's in that bad stuff, as well as the good stuff, anything that you change in the past, no matter how small it might be, even if it was to button your shirt differently, it could change who you are right now. And the biggest question I would have then is, if you change something in the past and it changed who you are now, what happens if you don't like that person? All the trials and tribulations that we went through our lives up to this moment in life, up to the present. The past is the past. It's what we went through, but we had to go through it to get where we are right now. Are you really willing to try and risk changing your past by changing something from the past so that who you are now, you may not even recognize? So that's why I'm a proponent of the butterfly effect. And then coming into 2024, my word for this year, still aligned with the eagle, is to soar. Take off. I've already taken off. I mean, if we look at what I've done in the past year and think about what you've done in the past year, find those wins, because it's easy to say, oh, that's a win, but I didn't make enough money. That's a win, but I didn't get the gratification I wanted. That's a win, but the thing about the word but, it negates everything in front of it that came before it. So when you say but, then you're basically negating everything that came before that word, and you can only focus on what comes after. And the thing is, all of these things that you've done, they are accomplishments. I sit here and it's nice when people, when I can say, in the last 6 months, I have written and published in 6 books. 4 of those books were anthologies. All of them were bestsellers. What I get from anthologies is the notoriety, the credit of being a published author. I may not get much else out of it. It's not necessarily financially gainful, but it's published. Your work is out there. What I wrote in those books is out there. This is the beauty of the anthologies. Then there's the self-published. I self-published 2 books in my Armor of God series. And those 2 books, it's something that I've worked on for 10 years. Those books started actually in February, will be 11 years since the idea for those books first came to me. And it took me 3+ years to do the book, to get the story written, the basics of it. And another, so that was 3 years. And then another 3 years as I was trying to polish it, edit it, doing things myself with it before I finally submitted it to a contest as a manuscript up against other fantasy books. And lo and behold, it was one of the last 7 standing in a fantasy contest. And that's what that big ribbon is for. That's that big blue ribbon was for that first book. Then I got tired of trying to find an agent, find a publisher to publish it. So I self-published. There's costs involved with publishing. You have the cost of getting the cover. You have editing costs. And depending on how you publish and how you put things together, there can be publication costs. You may need to hire somebody to help you lay the book out. All these different pieces. So there's costs to it. But the bottom line is it's published. It's a book. Your story is out there. And that's what I love about this. I mean, when I sit here, I have 4 anthologies. The first one was My 2 Cents. That was July 7th of 30 plus authors in one book. And the thing about the anthology is it gives you a variety of stories around a theme, and you get so many different voices in it. After My 2 Cents, and I see one of my co-authors here. This is one of my co-authors in My 2 Cents, or Never Give Up. That was the second book. It was the first one I actually signed up for, but it was the second to be published. Never Give Up. 23 authors, most of us women, about never giving up. Then I was in Rattled Awake, the very first one. Short book, 1,500 word chapters, 11 authors. And then there's the most recent one, which I was actually able to be a part of the publishing team for this. A Note to My Family, I Am Your Legacy. This is an opportunity to basically leave a legacy, leave in our own words something to the generations to come. The beauty of anthologies, and I will come back to that because there's more when it comes to the anthologies. But as I said, I have 2 books that I self-published. And what I love about these books, this story is everything I've written, but this story aligns with my focus on move beyond boxes and shine, to be your authentic self, because my main character went through his life, everybody telling him who he is, what he's supposed to do, looking down on him. And he ends up going on a quest to find the armor of God. But during that, it also becomes a personal quest to find himself and move beyond those boxes people were putting him in, or he allowed himself to be in, and step out and ultimately be his authentic self, who he was supposed to be. But the surprise I have for today, which was on the cover for today's show, it's my 3rd solo book. It's the 7th book in 6 months. Because like I said, the first one was the 7th of July, and today is only the 3rd of January, not the 7th. And this book was traditionally published. This book is what I call my reinvention memoir, published by Urano Publishing Group, a Spanish firm, Faith of the Butterfly is my reinvention story. It is how I moved from living that life of the past to living the life that I was supposed to live according to who I am and have always been. It's why I have my personal motto, I'm not what I used to be, yet I am who I have always been. That is me. And that is what this story is about. It is my own journey of moving from being lost, not being myself, not being comfortable with who I was trying to be because I was trying to be what others told me I should be, to being me. And if you see some of my posts, especially within the last week, I have a post with 5 pictures on it. Each picture, starting with the very first one, was taken on the day after Christmas from 2019 to 2023. Because 2019, the day after Christmas, is when this reinvention started. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was when my reinvention started. And that is where this book starts. And so those 5 pictures in that post, that is the photo record of my own reinvention to be who I have always been. And why do I talk so much about the books today? Well, especially so much about anthologies. Well, there's another anthology that is now being promoted. It's being promoted by my bestie sister, Dr. CJ, Constance LEYLAND. And this particular book is, to get the right name of it, Beyond Boundaries, Thriving in Life's Gray Zone. This is an opportunity for 40 authors, not more than 40 to 42. I think that's the max that she's taking for this. And I'll be part of the team again, just like Legacy, to help authors with their writing, do the editing, walk them through the process. This is an opportunity for people to share their story and be able to talk about what it's like to be living in that gray zone. I mean, think about your life. It's how many of us go through life and we know who we are, yet what others tell us we are or how others view us, oftentimes it's different. And we find ourselves stuck in this gray zone, trying to live between 2 or more points that we know we kind of belong in those different points, but we can't put ourselves in that box. In some ways, being in the gray zone is like moving beyond the boxes, to move beyond and be who we've always been meant to be. Let ourselves out, let our well-being grow. This is what it means to be human, to be a unique individual with diverse interests. It doesn't matter that people could say, oh, you are fill in the blank. You belong with these people, and these people are like fill in the subset of a subset of a subset that they have picked to fit a narrative that they want to use to paint everybody as being the same. But we're not the same. And so when we get stuck in this gray zone, many times we're still trying to find ourselves. We're stuck in this box that we're not allowed to be what we know we are, and instead we're trying to survive. But what if we do more than that? What if it's not trying to survive anymore? If we're in the gray zone, for some of us, that is really being ourselves, being our unique individuals. And this anthology, Beyond Boundaries, I mean, Beyond Boundaries is like moving beyond boxes. They're very similar. But we're done with trying to fit what other people want us to be. So here is a book. Here is an anthology that you now have an opportunity. If you're interested in being a part of this anthology, go to CJ's website. It's luabydocleyland.com, LUABYDOCLEYLAND, all one word, .com/authors-page. There's more information on that website about this anthology, the sign up, the schedule. And if you're interested, I know CJ has a number of opportunities for working with people to be able to afford this book. Because right now, it's $500 to be a part of it. And we're talking about a book that's going to be 2,500 to 3,000 words per chapter, per author. She has some ideas in there about what one could write on this. But remember, too, these are ideas, because what matters most is that whoever's writing in this book, in this anthology, they're writing from themselves. They're writing from their own heart. They're writing their own story. It's them. And that's what we want to come through, is the individuality of each person, that uniqueness that makes you you when writing in an anthology. On top of that, I will be having on the 20th of January a workshop. And my workshop is designed to provide some background to help you with the writing aspect itself, so that you don't have to feel like you're missing something. The way I look at it is, you're ready to write a chapter in an anthology. You feel that call, but maybe you're a little unsure of your writing skills, or your confidence not quite there to be able to write. That's where this workshop comes in. My focus is to boost through this 2 hours, boost that confidence to write a chapter and achieve that dream of being a published author. And some of the topics that are going to be included in this are writing basics, um, being able to choose your focus based on an anthology topic, determining what's your writing style, because there are different writing styles, there's different ways to write. So this is all important. Some of the basic chapter writing basics so that you can start writing, because here's the deal. Whether you are in the current anthology or one of the anthologies that we're going to have throughout the year, or somebody else's anthology, why should you let your fear hold you back? There is no reason to let fear drive you and keep you from being that person you've always been, and from putting yourself out there as an author. It's time to write. It's time to be and let the world know your story. So with the workshop that I'm doing, it has all of that. It's going to be on the 20th of January. So in about 2.5 weeks. The details will be on my website, Susanna Dawn Writer, all one word, .com, on the services page, services and products. It's not up there yet, but it should be later this afternoon. And what I do want to put out there as well, right now I've got it scheduled for 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time, which would be noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time. But if there's enough people who would like a later time, especially if you're in other parts of the world and you are looking for, you want to do this and you want to do it live, because so often having that live, being able to interact and ask questions is so important. So if you're in Australia, South Africa, other parts of the world where 9 to 11 Pacific is just the middle of your night, then we could look at something at, say, 5 in the afternoon Pacific that would be another 6-7 hours later than were it scheduled. I could do two. So one for the world, kind of like one for the world and one for the Western Hemisphere, so to speak. But I just want to put that out there as well as an option, so that on Saturday we can start getting you over those fears. Because the other thing that's happening, this will get you ready to start writing an anthology. But many of us have stories in us that we really want to get out there. We really want to get onto paper. And so in February, I will have a 4-week course on storytelling. And during that course, it's a chance to work on getting that story out that you're ready to let the world know about. You're ready to put it on paper, to understand a little bit more about the publishing process, and to start writing. It can be done in conjunction with an anthology, but even with CJ's anthology, the way this one's going to go, Beyond Boundaries, CJ does things quick, and these anthologies will be quick. Once we put it out there, we're announcing it now. People are already signing up for it. By the 1st of February, that's when we will essentially close the door. And those who have signed up, the month of February will be writing. So the first couple of weeks, and she's got the time schedule on her website, is going to be for people to write their drafts, get their drafts turned in so that we can edit, provide guidance. And when we provide guidance, it is to make sure that the author's words, style, voice remains. I never want to help somebody with the writing and change their voice, because then it's not them. So that's such an important aspect of editing. And in my courses, I'll talk even more about that. Then towards the end of February, about the end of the third week-ish, we'll have all the authors get together for a Zoom chat and a chance to edit with each other. It's a powerful opportunity to really hear your own work and to see how it impacts with other people, and then you have that chance to make those final tweaks, comments, and then by the end of the month, by the end of February, you'll basically be done, and we'll be putting everything together so that we can publish the Kindle, and then shortly after that, publish the book. So there's so much in the writing world going on right now, and it's been wonderful. It's been a beautiful writing experience, and I want to help more people get that opportunity to get their words down on paper, get it on the computer screen, however we do it, and get those stories out there. When you have your own book and you're able to get it edited, make sure it's all clean, have a cover, put it together, these books can also be your own calling card. Like I said, with my books, I didn't expect it to be this way, but the theme of move beyond boxes and shine, that movement flows through everything that I've written. All 7 of those books, the 4 chapters and the 3 solo books, that really is my theme. To move beyond that which people have been using to hold me back, or that I use to hold myself back. And I know so many other people in this world, they do the same. It's that ability to move beyond that box, to take back the control that's been given to others. That's one of the core aspects of moving beyond boxes, is igniting that awareness that you're in the box. Who's got control? What's got control? Knowing that you can take that control back. The awareness is sparked so that you can take those steps to move beyond that box. It may be slow, it may be fast, it will be your pace. But it's you taking control of your life instead of letting others control. And that's where I want to talk a little bit more about this movement in some of the aspects, because my focus on this is really with women. We spend so much time hiding aspects of ourselves in public because we're afraid of what others might think, how they might stereotype us. And that's the reports that I've seen, the studies that I've seen, for women especially, stereotype is the thing that really, it's the biggest fear driver, and why so many women will hold back and not engage. They'll hide these things, um, from basic aspects about their life to education to feeling like they have to walk into the office dressed more masculine to fit in with the boys, when that's not really who we are. So many women, it's like they're dropping that makes them so special and unique to try and fit in. And there's an issue when it comes around to trying to fit in, because there's belonging and there's fitting in. When we are trying to fit in, we're contorting ourselves to try and be like the people that we want to fit in with. And when we want to fit in, it's because we want to be in that group. It's not because that group wants us. We have to be like them to be accepted, to be included. And that's just not the way it should be. Not for women, not for men. Fitting in is putting ourselves into a box and thereby contorting ourselves. And why should we contort ourselves, which only is going to make our well-being worse? It's going to affect our mental health. And this is other things that have been said by women when it comes to these studies, hiding who we are. Maybe it's neurodiversity. Maybe it's LGBTQ. Maybe it's, as Ollie says, autistic, non-binary. It's a wide range of gambit. It could be race. It can be having a non-regional accent. It can be having a tattoo. You're afraid somebody will find out you've got this tattoo. All of these things that we hide, we've built these walls to keep them hidden from the world. Fitting in is doing the same thing. We're building walls to hide that which isn't going to be accepted by those that we're trying to fit in with. It is not belonging. And belonging is really what I want to see happen in this world for everybody. Going into a workplace, you need that sense of belonging. Don't fit in. Don't try and be like the others. When you're doing that, you're not fully engaged. From my own experience, to be in a place and to be hiding aspects of myself, I'm not willing to get as engaged with people because I'm afraid that my ideas, I may have a great idea, but if I tell somebody that idea, it may tell them something about me. And there's that fear of if they find out that I am whatever, then they might do something. And we worry about what they might do, what they might say, how they might treat us, because this is where our fears are running the show. Our fear knows us so much more than we know ourselves. It knows what to tell us. It knows what buttons to push. It knows how to keep us hidden in a box where it can tell us how we should be, how we should act to fit in. But if we belong, that means people accept us for who we are. As a woman walking into a workplace, why can't I just wear unless it's like a warehouse, a duty uniform? Why can't I wear dresses and skirts and florals, even if most of the people in the office are men? Why can't I be myself instead of trying to wear slacks and coats and look like the rest? Yeah, I get that, Aaron. It's LinkedIn is being so wacky. And the other place that you can find me is on my YouTube page as well, which is my YouTube channel, which is at Susanna Dawn. Um, LinkedIn is being LinkedIn. But being able to walk into a place as ourselves, it means so much. Well, definitely, Ollie. But here's another thing. Our clothes, what we wear, affects our well-being. If we are walking into a place and we're trying to fit in, which means we're wearing stuff that we're not comfortable to be in, it's not who we are, then it's going to affect our mental health. It's going to affect our well-being. It's going to put us back in a position to where we're trying to be that which we're not. We can do the job. That's not a problem. But we shouldn't have to try and dress the part, because the part shouldn't exist. When you can walk into a workplace and be comfortable in who you are, in what you're wearing, in not feeling like you have to hide things, all of a sudden your well-being goes up. And what a lot of companies don't quite realize is when they allow a work environment that is more of a break from the societal norms, where people are allowed to be who they've always been, who they are at their core, they're going to give more of themselves. When we are ourselves, we're able to engage more. We're able to let our ideas flow easier because we're not putting these walls up of, oh, I can't say that because then they might find out about this. And for the workplace, and for those who feel that, oh, if you let people be themselves, then it's just going to create chaos. The news flash here is people just want to be themselves. Yes, there will be those few who want to announce to the world that they are whatever, but most, they understand that it's their choice who they even want to tell any of these things to. Whatever it is they've been hiding their whole life, they have that opportunity to then decide who they're willing to open up to, because they don't have to. They get to decide what, when, where, why, how They're going to tell somebody, and most importantly, they get to decide if they tell anybody. Maybe it makes sense for somebody to say, yes, I'm neurodiverse, I am whatever, and to let it be known, and that's fine. It's like, this is the best way to interact with me. There's some that maybe they have a disability, they just don't want it to be the focal point of how everybody deals with them, how they react to them. They just want to be. They don't want to have to feel like they have to tell everybody about the disability. They don't want to tell everybody. They don't want to have to try and change their accent to sound like the local community when they have an accent that is from the Middle East or from Asia or from some place that's not local. I mean, even in the US, I can picture that Southern belle, that woman who she goes up north for a job and she tries to hide her accent because she's afraid that she will be stereotyped if somebody hears her speak as she normally speaks. And that's not right. That means that she's going to spend all her time in that office working on a facade, building the facade. We don't need that. So we get to decide with an open workplace who we're going to tell, if we're going to tell. But there's another thing that's really important to this as well. When the workplace is truly open and you feel, and it has that safety to it, people can exchange ideas. They don't have to stick with superficial comments. They can go deeper into conversations with people, get to know people for who they are. And yes, we have these things that we're afraid somebody's going to find out about. Yet, with that open environment and with that feeling, that well-being of, I own what it was I feared, it no longer owns me. That's why I say, when we own our fear, fear no longer owns us. And in this case, if somebody finds out that I am fill in the blank, and they come up and they say something, then instead of being afraid and stuttering and worried about how to respond, you own it. And you can easily just say, whether that's true or not is really none of your business. If it's really none of their business, and let it go. It's so much easier, and that angst is released when we're not holding angst, we're not holding worries, we're not afraid of how people are going to interact. It only boosts our well-being and our health and our mental health. So this is all a part of the importance between belonging versus fitting in. And I will be doing more posts on this as well, because this whole thing, and it it really got kickstarted for me after I was listening to Brene Brown in one of her books, Daring Greatly. So I was listening to this book by Brene Brown, but there's some things in there, and this was one of them, that kids understand the difference between belonging and fitting in. And one of the worst things one of the worst places that we deal with this, that we have to deal with this, especially as a kid. And again, I can take my own story to this one, trying to fit into the family. I mean, it's one thing to try and fit in at school, but trying to fit in the family when you know you're different, you know you're not the same as what they're trying to tell you you are. When you feel like you belong, you have a family. And that, I'll just sit here and say right now, that's my sisters. Constance, Nicole, um, Christine, Danielle's in the audience. I saw Dr. New. Those are the people, when you see them, you feel it. You can talk openly with them. You belong. And having that sense of belonging is so important to us. And when people belong, when they feel that, they give more. They're more open to being there for people, to showing up, to exchanging ideas. And that's where this movement is headed. It's got so much to it. I've got so many moving pieces. And now I'm at the point where, as I'm building my speaker side, it's a lot of us, we talk about, we'll ask people, what do you need? What can I do? How can I help? And how many of us sit back because we're not used to hearing those words? Or if we hear those words, oftentimes they're meaningless because people who said that to us before and we took them at what they said fell flat. It's like, I had people in my life who would say, if you need help, let me know, I'll help. I'd ask for help, and either it didn't come or it would be filled with complaining. It's like it wasn't help, it was complaining. And complaining, it shuts down. Why would I accept somebody for saying, what do you need? I'll give it to you. It's only it's only in these last few months, since I've connected with my closest sisters, that I have felt the truth of what do you need, and to be able to open up and say, this is what I need. So in terms of this, I'm kind of using that as a way to say, where I'm at right now, the things that I'm looking for are the paid speaking opportunities, whether it's consulting with a company, whether it's speaking at a women's group, at a conference, and to take a lot of what I've just talked about. I've got a number of different speeches that I can bring to an audience. Belonging, moving beyond boxes, the importance of awareness to take that first step. All of this is what I'm looking for now, to basically lift other women beyond the boxes, to stop putting ourselves in a box, because imposter syndrome, and the men get this too, of feeling like they're in a position, they're in a role, they're someplace, and Now they've got this responsibility and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to, they don't know, they worry. Everybody else looks like they're doing so much better than they are. And that's not the case. When we sit back and look at the string from where we started to where we are, and as why I focus on women with this, so often we feel like we have to fit in. This is where that fitting in comes in again. Almost like having to dumb down or to act a certain way, which doesn't show how amazing that we really are. When we can sit back and be ourselves, open up, because we hide, we're like, oh, I'm looking at these other people that are at my level. They've got their own teams, and they look like they've got everything put together. They've got so much. It's all under control, and I feel like I'm about to drown. I'm just dog paddling here before exhaustion pulls me under. What we don't see is that they're in the exact same boat that we are. Maybe one is hiding a divorce, an impending divorce. One is hiding an abusive relationship that they're in. One is hiding an addiction. All these different things. And suddenly, we are sitting there and we're worried about how we look compared to everybody else, and they're the same way. They're having the same issues. What we need to do is look at how we got from there to here and really move beyond those boxes and see that when you follow the string, where you're at right now, that's not the job that you're ready for. You're not ready for the next job or the one after that. You're ready for 3 or 4 down the line. You should be somewhere higher up than where you are. Or you should be looking at making that lateral change or changing companies. Because you're so much more than oftentimes you believe. And thank you so much for that, Aaron. And I know you got in a little bit later. However, I want to show you something else, because while you already know about these 2 books, Aaron, my fantasy series, which really is about moving beyond boxes and shining as your authentic self. Yesterday, this one launched, and this is my reinvention memoir. This is the book where I talk about everything I went through, what it was like to go from what I was to becoming who I've always been. So, man, time flies, and it's been great seeing everybody here. And it's like, wow, that was a quick hour. But I'm so glad everybody came. And like I said, the things that I'm looking for now, and I would love for everybody to put in the comments, what are you looking for? How can we help you? For me, it's finding those speaking engagements. I have speaker packages, and I am looking at opportunities as a consultant with companies to help with the work environment, to start smashing the societal norms and making it a place that people are comfortable and know that they belong, that they are where they need to be, and that they're in a company that accepts them for who they are. That's belonging, not a company that makes them fit in, which means we continue to hide aspects of ourselves because we're just we're afraid of letting anybody in then. We don't want to get hurt. We've been hurt in the past. We don't want to get hurt again. So, with that, have an amazing start to 2024. Here we are in a leap year, so you get an extra day this year. Woohoo! And it's a great year to break down some more balls, remove barriers, and this is the year that we really do need to soar. It's why my word is soar. It's time for us to break down the walls, and for those who feel stuck in boxes, to ignite that awareness that they don't have to be there anymore, that they can take the first step and move beyond boxes and shine as the authentic person they were always meant to be. So thank you so much for being here. It was great. Ollie, Aaron, Dr. New, Kimberly, Danielle, so many people. Thank you for coming. I loved all the interaction, and I will see you next week. Bye.